Hey guys, it's Banana Man here again. Someone asked me if I would go create a deep preparation guide. So I'm just going to kind of go through some of the things that I do. Um, this isn't scouting and looking and finding targets on other battlefields. Typically, I don't look for individual targets as much as I do and bookmark the CCs, the command centers of cores. So I would basically look around and find as many of the command centers as possible, and then I save those as favorites on enemy battlefields. So that's how I do the scouting. Like I said, the only time I would bookmark an individual is if I saw someone that was maybe outside of a core command area and I wanted to go in and hit them. I would save them as favorites and then make sure I go through what I'm about to show you right now through my setup. Um, so what I do before deep, I'll just start with the Air Force. This one's fairly straightforward. If you have an Air Force maybe garrisoned that's not your combat plane for whatever reason, I never do that. But maybe you have a few planes that you like to use. Maybe you have a defensive plane you like to keep there. You could do that. But what you could also do is start activating buffs. And one of those is here I have the combo, which is for my Pegasus plane. So I would come in and I would activate that buff and make sure that's good for the Air Force. Second one is formation. So I would go to the parade ground, unit details, and make sure my formation is set. So, for example, if I didn't have the officers I have, and maybe I had a Patrick who's a great deep battle officer, maybe I would go put that Patrick in one of them, and maybe for formation two, I would put something there. One of two things. If I had a smaller headquarters and I only had one or two marches, maybe I would kind of calculate what troops would be left over. I would make that as formation two to send away, um, you know, send away to a resource plot or to start a fanatic general rally on another field, so that way those troops aren't killed if somehow I get caught with my troops out. For me, I typically would set this as a resource gathering, so I would come in and make the first shot, and hopefully I'm killing most, if not all, of the troops, and then from there on I would take a couple shots with this march that I'm showing to basically take away a lot of the resources, because I've got Turkey Knight. She goes in and takes a lot of the resources. Um, so that's your formation. The other one will be buffs. There you're going to click your items. I'm gonna sort them by buffs. I'm gonna make sure, if I'm about to hit a big guy, maybe I'll turn on a 500. Otherwise, I may just at the beginning of it. Typically, what I'll do is I'll open these up. I'll do a 12%. Or 12-hour 20% attack, and then I'll do another 12-hour 20% defense and just have that on. Maybe I'll do a deployment capacity up. I'll increase it by 25% or 50. If you do that, then you need to go back into your parade ground and adjust your formation for the extra troops that you're going to build. So that's some of the buffs I would go and turn on to get ready. Then I'm going to go into flag. So I'll talk a little bit about this. I would go into flag, um, open that up, and look at the buffs that I want. Typically, Bullock's Blockade, that's where I'm going to keep 20% of their enemy's command center defense units from engaging. I have an extra 18% from an officer who makes this buff even better. What you'll see is this has a time limit of 15 minutes, so it's pretty short. If this is the flag you're going to use, typically most of your flags are going to be 15 if you're a level 30. This is based upon your level. Now, officers for that, what I would also go into my assignments, and I would go into technology here. I would make sure that what I have is an officer that has combat buffs. So that's who I'm picking here. Typically, I would have her in there for the technology point resource utilization, but I'll take her out and I'll make sure that I have one that gives me fighting buffs. Now in logistics, what I would do is come in here and probably take out. I have Bunny Girl in, which raises my flag effect. That was that plus 18% that you saw in there. So I'd make sure I have her in there. probably what I'll do is pull out one of these last three, and let me say I would take him out, and then I'm going to put her in, because what this does is raises my flag time by 50.8 minutes, which is pretty good. So now I don't have 15 minutes anymore when I assign her, and I come back over here and I look at my flags. When I click on this, now I have an hour and 5 minutes where this buff is going to take effect. So you may need to switch around some officers. You have also some military officers. Mine aren't good enough to switch out, but I may go in here and find one of these military officers and put one in that maybe has some sort of buff whenever I'm sending in a certain type of troop. So you want to make sure that that you have all of your officers optimized for fighting. The next one's going to be in command. So I'm going to go into command and make sure, if I have a lot of officers, like I have a lot of officers and I can fill the command slots, and for the most part I have most of the command officers to fill the right slot, so I don't have to go in and switch. But what you might want to do if you don't have a lot of officers, particularly high star officers, and you need those stars to unlock buffs like this one, which is going to give me some inner server attack, which is your deep battle buffs. So I'm probably going to go in and want to fill these officers out and increase the buffs in here. Another thing to think about when you look at this is max level. I start going in these and there's room to upgrade, but I don't have the feet, if you'll see down here. Something to think about, that first shot in deep, you have a limited amount of feet that you can collect per day. So if you can, and if at all possible, try to make that first shot your biggest shot. Because let's say I can only store 30,000 feet per day. If my first shot gives me 500,000 feet, then I have 500. It doesn't limit me. It only limits me if I take that first shot and I get 35,000 feet. I keep 30,000 feet. It's going to show me as full. If I take another shot within that server reset day and I get 500,000 feet, I'm not going to get credit for any of those feet. So what you want to do is try to, if at all possible, make sure that that you're taking that big shot so you can get all that feet for yourself. So and then you want to use it, before the next reset and get all your buffs upgraded a little bit. But so that's my deep preparation to make sure I have all the buffs turned on. I've got formations ready to go. I've got a game plan. I've it's good to think about what you're going to do when you land. If you're going to land and then you're going to shield, then that's pretty straightforward. If you're going to land and take a shot and then shield, or you're going to land, send out a secondary march to protect troops, and then take a shot and shield, it's good to just really think about, go through that thought process of how you're going to do it, because a lot of people, they get nervous. You get the adrenaline going and you start fumbling around with the buttons, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, you're getting hit and taken for all your troops and a lot of your resources. So think through that before you land. But I just wanted to put together a quick tutorial. I know someone was asking about preparing for deep, and that's really putting together some buffs and getting things ready for landing over in deep and have the maximum amount of buffs that you can use. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close out the video. Thanks for watching, guys.